Okay, back to Psalm 118. We left off last video looking at Psalm 118 verses 15 through 18. Real quick, Jesus said, glad songs of salvation are in the tents of the righteous. We talked about now there's a group of people called the righteous. Why? Because the right hand of the Lord does valiantly. The right hand of Yahweh exalted Jesus. The right hand of the Lord, Yahweh, does valiantly. I shall not die. I shall live. Jesus in his deity preaches to Jesus in his humanity. I shall live. And what's the first thing he does in his living? He recounts the deeds of the Lord. He gives him praise because he can't stop. He's the perfect praiser. The Lord has disciplined me severely, he said, but he's not given me over to death. And we talked about that at length. Why was he disciplined? Well, we know he was bruised for our transgression. He suffered for our sin. Our sin was put on him, his righteousness given to us, which we're going to talk about today, right? That's the gospel. So because Jesus was the perfect praiser of Yahweh, because Jesus was the perfect prayer to Yahweh, rising while it was still dark, as it says in Mark 1, he always was praying to his Father. Because Jesus was the perfect fear of Yahweh, that Deuteronomy 17 king that's prophesied about, Jesus, he's the perfect fear of Yahweh. Because Jesus is the perfect lawkeeper, because he's the perfect one, he's the begotten Son, he's the anointed king, he does what no one else can do and he does it perfectly. He does all the Father asks and he does it perfectly. That means he's righteous. He's in the right order, he's in right standing, he's the righteous one. Therefore, God gives him steadfast love. That Hebrew word hesed. God always answers his prayers. No one else can say that. And he raises him. He exalts him. Why? Because he humbled himself to the point of death. Philippians 2. We talked about that. Humiliation always precedes exaltation. It was that way with Jesus. It's that way in our lives. So because of that, Yahweh delivers him and he says something remarkable, bold, something no one else can say today in verses 19 and 20. Jesus then looks up in victory after God exalted him, after he rose him from the dead, and Jesus looked at the gates of righteousness and he says in verse 19, open to me. No one else could ever say this. Open to me the gates of righteousness that I may enter through them. Open them up, he says. I'm the one. Open them up that I may enter through them. And what's the first thing he says after that? And give thanks to Yahweh. Of course, that's all he ever does is praises his Father. He goes on in verse 20, this is the gate of the Lord, the righteous shall enter through it. Okay, this is just the massive, massive buildup of this psalm. There's going to be some powerful verses after this, yes. But this is it. This is it. This is the most powerful verse in all the Bible. One of them. Because Jesus obeys his Father perfectly, because Jesus takes our sin on him graciously, because the Father, the right hand of Yahweh, exalted Jesus, raised him from the dead victoriously, Jesus can say something unlike anyone ever and never again can be said. He can say this boldly, open to me. Open to me. I'm the perfect king. I'm the forever king. I'm the one 1 Kings and 2 Kings longed for. The book of Judges, without a king, Israel did what was right in her own eyes, but her own eyes were evil. And then you see 1st and 2nd King, all these kings, even the ones that were kind of good, nope. They never tore down the high places. They always allowed Baal worship and false god worship and idolatry. God called it whoredom, right? Not this one. This one did everything perfectly, so he can say, open to me the gates of righteousness. I'm coming through. I'm coming through. Daddy, I did everything you gave me to do. I'm coming through. And the first thing he does, and give thanks to Yahweh. Give thanks to my Father. He can't stop. That's what the perfect praiser does. That's why he's the anointed king. That's why he's the begotten son. That's why he's the righteous one. He's the only one who's in perfect right order with his Father. Jesus can't stop thanking his Father because he's good, and his steadfast love endures forever for Jesus and for all those in Jesus, but only for Jesus first. He goes on. He goes on and says something remarkable in verse 20. He claims the gate. He says, see that gate? Open it up. I'm coming through. I did it. This is the gate. He walks through the gate. He thanks his Father. And then he says in verse 20, pointing to himself, this is the gate of Yahweh. The righteous shall enter through it. The righteous should enter through me. I am the only way. I am the gate. You see that? Because Jesus does everything perfectly, because he boldly enters the gates of righteousness, he then becomes the gate. See? He is the way. He is the truth. He is the life. No one comes to Yahweh. No one comes to the Father except through Jesus. Jesus said this, he referred to this in John 10. I love John 10. I love all of John. But in John 10, it says, John 10, 7 through 9, it says, so Jesus again said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door. I'm the gate. Same thing. I am the door of the sheep. All who came before me, they're thieves and robbers. But the sheep don't listen to them. I am the door. I'm the gate. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief, he comes to rob and steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and life abundantly. I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Because of that, the good shepherd enters through the gates of righteousness. Because of that, he becomes the gate. So who are the righteous? Well, they're anyone who come to Jesus, trust in Jesus, worship Jesus, follow Jesus, and ultimately listen to him, obey him. My sheep hear my voice, John 10:27, 10:28. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. They listen to me. They obey me. And then I give them something. I give them eternal life. Once you go through the gates of righteousness, there's no turning back. There's nothing to turn back to. I give them eternal life. No one shall tear them from my grasp. Because I'm the gate. And once you come through me, I got you. That's what he says. He goes on then in verse 21 and he says, I thank you, talking to his Father, talking to Yahweh, he says, I thank you that you have, past tense, answered me, and have, past tense, become my salvation. See, Jesus had to be saved first for us to be saved. And it didn't mean he needed to be born again like us. No, that's not what it's talking about at all. But Jesus needed to be redeemed, to be saved from his Father, because he who knew no sin, 2 Corinthians 5:21, he who knew no sin became sin. He had to be that perfect sacrifice in order for his sin to pay the wrath debt of his Father. That was always the plan. To do that perfectly so that his Father got all the glory, so that the Godhead collectively got glory, and then all who he chooses can come in. Open to me the gates of righteousness that I may go through. After he goes through, thanks his Father, and says, I am the gate. Anyone who wants to come to heaven, come to my Father, must come through me. That's beautiful, isn't it? Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one can get to the Father except through Jesus. To know God, you must know Jesus. If you don't know Jesus, no matter what you proclaim, you don't know the true God. You must know Jesus. So we'll stop there, and then tomorrow we'll finish this psalm off, and we'll talk about one of the verses that we love to quote. The verse is, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and give thanks to it. And be glad in it. We'll talk about that verse tomorrow. That verse means a lot more than we think. All right, peace.